welcome to Soldiers Memorial on this joyous Juneteenth celebration. I am Mark Sunlove, the Managing Director of Soldiers Memorial for the Missouri Historical Society. It's my proud honor to welcome you to Soldiers Memorial on this beautiful and joyous Juneteenth. We are here gathered for the premiere of our newest exhibition, Tuskegee Airmen, America's Freedom Flyers, and also for the unveiling of the honorary renaming of Chestnut Street, right behind you, to Tuskegee Airmen Way. Before I begin my brief remarks about why this exhibition and why this exhibition here at Soldiers Memorial, I want to give a number of thank yous. We simply wouldn't be here without the support of these fine people. First, our preparators. For those of you who don't know, a preparator is very briefly defined as responsible for the installation of the exhibition. The preparators are expert problem solvers, cool under pressure and deadline, and incredibly talented. They bring it all to life. By name, they are Jesse Nenninger, Max Eisenberg, Andrew Fisher, Gertrude Helke, Mark Latz, Meg McCauley, Amelia Tufts, Chelsea Webster, and Lily Kays. They're hidden. You never see these folks. They remind me of the little elves that used to come in and help the guy with the shoes in the middle of the night. That's how the preparators work. They come into the gallery. Next thing you know, you have a beautiful exhibition. They do incredible work, but they're well under the radar. Next, our volunteers and our staff. Then our friends who are not only friends, but also make it financially possible. These are the members of the Missouri Historical Society. Couldn't be here without you. Members of our Soldiers Memorial Giving Circle. And also, we don't bring these folks up all the time, but we can't forget them. It's the Crawford Taylor Foundation and the Taylor family. It's hard to believe, but it was already nearly 10 years ago that they provided the vision and the generous commitment to restore Soldiers Memorial. That restoration included a temporary exhibition gallery where we could share important stories like today's Tuskegee Airmen. I also want to thank the Missouri Historical Society Zoo and Museum District, the Missouri Historical Society Board of Trustees, our Soldiers Memorial Board Committee, the city's Soldiers Memorial Commission, and the city of St. Louis. I also want to thank Lieutenant Colonel Henderson Carl Smith III. Carl, United States Air Force, retired. You see, Carl is another who put us all here this morning. Carl emailed me last summer. We had established a relationship because you see those bricks there that are engraved with the names of the Tuskegee Airmen. So we had developed a bit of a relationship, and Carl emailed me and he said, "Hey Mark," he said, "I recently had the opportunity to be present at the opening of a traveling Tuskegee Airmen exhibition. I think it would be a wonderful addition to our Soldiers Memorial Museum. Do you think that's possible?" Well, yes, sir, it is. He went on in that email and he said, "Additionally, I may be making progress on getting one of the streets named an honorary street for the Tuskegee Airmen." Also, sir, that's possible. So congratulations on the honorary street naming. Congratulations on getting this exhibit here. Now I want to thank Robin Williams, the director of NOLA World and curator of this exhibition, and also Zelly Orr, who worked hand in hand with Robin in the exhibition development. Every now and then you'll meet people Every now and then you'll have this special moment in your life when you meet people who are truly dedicated to a passion. And that's certainly Robin and Zelly. Robin is certainly passionate about sharing the history of the Tuskegee Airmen, and Miss Orr is a renowned Tuskegee Airmen historian who has authored not only her own work, but has advised on numerous other projects. Pick up any book out there on the Tuskegee Airmen. If it's worth its salt, and you're going to see Zelly's name in that book. You bet. Just last night, I rewatched Double Victory. If you haven't seen that, you need to put that on your list. If you haven't seen it, we're going to show it here in August. Sure enough, Zelly's there credited as an advisor at the end of that film. And finally, Bill Hentz. Bill, in the back row, Bill. Me and Bill have had awesome aeronautical engineering conversations all week long. He's been refreshing my memory of stuff I learned years ago. Bill's responsible for the 3 airplanes you're going to find in the gallery. The Stearman, the plane many of the Tuskegee Airmen trained on, the famous and glamorous P-51 Mustang, and the new T-7A, the newest fighter trainer used by the Air Force, built right here in St. Louis by Boeing, and bedecked with that beautiful red tail in memory of the Tuskegee Airmen. Bill has enriched the exhibition by showing us outstanding scale miniatures that the Tuskegee Airmen flew and maintained. Our previous exhibit, The Ghost Army, the con artists of World War II, was filled with stories of deception and fakery. It was surprising and fun and unique. This newest exhibition, The Tuskegee Airmen, America's Freedom Flyers, fills me with inspiration and joy. The story of the Tuskegee Airmen is a story of brave men and women who took on 2 dangerous and menacing enemies at the same time. The fascist powers of World War II over there, and hate-filled racism and discrimination right here in America. The story of the Tuskegee Airmen is a military history of beating back the Nazi fascist menace. It's the story of the dedication these pilots displayed to their mission. It's a military history filled with joyous victories and heartbreaking, devastating sacrifices. You're going to discover those stories in this exhibit. But you must also remember that though at first blush this is a military history, it is simultaneously a social history and most importantly a history of civil rights in America. You see, the black men and women of the Tuskegee Airmen were up against deeply held racist attitudes, and even more damning, they were up against institutions that had systematized racism to ensure they could keep black men and women from serving in anything but the most rudimentary military roles, and certainly not in the esteemed flying roles. I want to read something to you. This is going to disturb you. This is a paragraph from the U.S. Army War College's 1925 report on, quote, the employment of Negro manpower in war. If you're not familiar, the U.S. Army War College is responsible for furthering the education of the Army's top leaders. Think Eisenhower, Patton, Bradley. They all went through the Army War College. This is what they published in 1925. The Negro does not perform his share of civil duties in time of peace in proportion to his population. He has no leaders in industrial or commercial life. He takes no part in government. Compared to the white man, he is admittedly of inferior mentality. He is inherently weak in character. The report goes on in the same disgusting, repulsive manner, and ultimately says African Americans are incapable of anything but the most basic military tasks. This was no quack writing from his basement or some fringe study that historians have stumbled upon in the deep recesses. This report was doctrine. It was signed off by Major General H.F. Ely, Commandant of the U.S. Army War College. In his signatory remarks, General Ely commented that this should be accepted as the War Department policy in handling this, quote, problem. The problem of having people who want to step up and serve their country. That was a problem. I don't know where these people come from. And it was. That became the policy. And this is the very definition of institutional racism. And it is one of the Tuskegee Airmen's first, toughest, and longest lasting battles. That institutional racism, along with the Nazis, is who the men and women of the Tuskegee Airmen were fighting. But I tell you, the Tuskegee Airmen knew how to fly, fight, and win, and they did. That is why this exhibit is here at Soldiers Memorial. It fulfills our mission. We believe that we must understand our past, the good times, the bad times, the honorable and the dishonorable, if we are to guide our way into a better future. We are not here to simply celebrate. We are here to gain a much deeper, much more complex understanding of ourselves and our past. I hope you enjoy this exhibit. I hope you learn a lot. I hope you grow from the exhibit. I hope you share that learning with friends and family. But what I really hope is that you bring a young person back to this exhibit. This exhibition is filled with inspiration and examples of what we can accomplish when we stand against hate. Young people need to learn this lesson. We all need to learn this lesson. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce Robin Williams, curator of the exhibition, owner and director of NOLA World, with Zellie Orr and Bill Hentz.
Good morning, happy Juneteenth. What a beautiful day it is. My name is Robin Williams, and I am the curator and artistic director of nolaworld.org. My first experience in 2005 with a gentleman named Pompey Hawkins. And Pompey brought me a collection of photographs that he took during his time as a Tuskegee Airman. He was at Keesler Air Force Base, and he was staging protests for the injustices and the maltreatment of his men. 1943, that was 2 years before Freeman Field Mutiny. And I said, Pompey, let's do an exhibition. So we did. 2005. 10 years later, I was at Atlanta, Georgia as the director of the Aviation Museum for Fulton County. And I met this lady, Zellie Orr. And Zellie and I had, 2 weeks? 2 weeks to put together an exhibition called Nest of Eagles. It was on the 75th anniversary of the Tuskegee Airmen and the 40th anniversary of the Atlanta chapter of Tuskegee Airmen. At that time, we had several of the airmen still alive with us, and they were there for the opening of that particular exhibit. A 6-month exhibit became a 7-year-long journey and display at the Fulton County Aviation Museum. People loved it too much. They wanted to learn and experience the history of the Tuskegee Airmen. So when they finally deinstalled that exhibit, I called Zellie, I called Bill, I called photographer John Slemp, who you'll see his work in here. And I said, let's create something that can travel around the country. And we came up with Tuskegee Airmen America's Freedom Flyers. That was 2 years ago. And a year ago, we unveiled that at Grissom Air Museum in Indiana. And yes, Grissom. It's magically come together. Things have come into my hands that I never thought any time I would have. Like, for instance, the gentleman you see on this banner, Charles B. Hall, he was from Brazil, Indiana. He was the first black pilot to shoot down the enemy in World War II. And I found the original newspaper article from the Brazil, Indiana Times inside of a G.I. Joe box from the day that he shot down the plane. So there have been magical things that have happened, things that we have procured, things that we have been able to put together that you'll get to see today and you'll get to enjoy. I want to say, based on Mark's remarks about the War College, everything was against these guys. They were set up to fail. People said they couldn't do it. And they proved them wrong in the biggest way possible by being excellent, by standing up for their right to fight for this country. I think that this is more than an exhibition. I think on this day, in this time, in our country, in this place, it's very notable that they are presenting this exhibit here. It's incredibly important and impactful to understand. This is not just an exhibition, it's a social movement, and we're going to keep that train rolling. We look forward to bringing this exhibit everywhere we go. And just like we did in Indiana with the 5 hometown heroes on a 100-foot wide, 30-foot tall mural iconically presented their portraits, hometown heroes. We will celebrate the hometown heroes of each and every place that we go to. And you'll see today the over 90 St. Louisans that represented our country, fought for the right to fight for our country. Thank God for that. And we are so appreciative of the Hugh J. White chapter for being our partner in this endeavor, and to Carl, Yolanda, and everyone who participated in supporting this project. So thank you so much. We hope you enjoy it, and God bless America.
Wow. First of all, giving honor to Almighty God who has brought us here and on whose shoulders we stand, those ancestors, because June 19th, Texas would celebrate learning that they were set free. But please know that even though June 19th is celebrated as a federal holiday, those states that did not rebel from the Union were not actually set free until the 13th Amendment, and that was signed in December of 1865. Among those states was Missouri, Maryland, and some other states. So it is good to know history, to be expansive in our knowledge. But I just want to say my role with the Tuskegee Airmen, because Mississippi is known as the bottom of many things. But it was from Mississippi, my hometown, that a Tuskegee Airman came that was killed in combat flying a P-51. I thought I would place a flower at his grave and found out from his family they did not know where he was buried. My role became where I would locate his body in Belgium, and he was honored. Also, I have been able to help remove a Tuskegee Airman's name from the tablet of the missing. When a Tuskegee Airman dies in combat and he's not found or accounted for, there's a tablet with their names that honors them. And thank God, one of those airmen, Samuel Lieutenant Cologne, his name is no longer among those. Thank you, Robin, for this opportunity. Thank you to all who came out. I want to say hello to my aunt here who's 97 years old, who was a friend of the Tuskegee Airmen, my cousin, and some more relatives. But God bless you all. Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce President of the Hugh J. White Tuskegee Airmen Incorporated, Major Yolanda M. Wood, United States Air Force, retired.
Hello, everybody. Oh, that was pitiful. You guys are like 2 years old. Hello, everyone. I am the president of the Hugh J. White chapter, and I have one story and something I want you to remember. The legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen is relevant. That's the mission that I have as the president. I need you to understand that. And I will share 3 quick stories. George Carper is from St. Louis. He was a crew chief. He was also of the family of the Carper Casket Company. And I didn't know how important he was until they had a banquet across the street from the convention center. And he was the man of honor, and that convention center ballroom was filled. The Tuskegee Airmen is relevant. The president of our chapter is called Hugh J. White. Hugh J. White went on after the military to serve in our legislature in Missouri. The legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen is relevant. And Wendell Pruitt, a St. Louis native. Now, I want you all to relate to him because you all have mamas. Nod your head like this. Mama has 2 rules. Always try and do it now. Always and do it now. Wendell Pruitt was flying home from one of his missions. He had dropped all his bombs, but he remembered Mama said, always, always and do it now. He saw a German ship as big as a football field, but he had no bombs. He had an itty bitty, teeny weeny, itsy bitsy. You get the picture? 50 caliber bullets. But Mama said, always, always and do it. He attacked that ship and he sunk it. How do you sink a ship that big? No, your guess is wrong. Wasn't the engine, wasn't the propellers. The Germans hadn't listened to their mama. They didn't. They had received some ammunition. It was probably in wooden boxes. They said, we'll put it away later. One of those bullets hit all that ammunition that was probably on deck. And what should have been a small boom became a very big boom. And what should have been a small hole became a very big hole. And you guys do know what happens when you put a big hole in a boat? The legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen is real. Learn what Wendell Pruitt had. Teach it to your children. Always, always, and do it now.
I'd like to introduce Memorial and Monuments Officer of the Hugh J. White Tuskegee Airmen Incorporated, Lieutenant Colonel Henderson Carl Smith III, United States Air Force, retired.
Do I do the street now? I'm going to do the street now? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Good morning. First, I want to take a moment to thank each and every you for being here to witness this important and historical moment as we unveil Tuskegee Airmen Way. Before I speak of the significance of the street and these men that we honor today, I must make a very personal thank you to my mother. And she's like, what? Mom, your unwavering love, patience, and reluctance, blessed when I was close to joining the military at the age of 17, gave me the foundation to become the man I am today. Without your guidance, your quiet strength, your belief in me, even when the path I chose worried you, I wouldn't be standing here. You gave me courage, you gave me purpose, and for that I am forever grateful. Just a little quick history about me, just quick and dirty. I grew up in Detroit. There you go, Motown. And I could have been on the wrong path, but I met a Tuskegee Airman. He was my high school teacher, and he told me about the Tuskegee Airmen. And that spark encouraged me to get into aviation, join the military, and I did 35 years in the military. One of the proudest moments of my career was when I made Lieutenant Colonel, and I had the honor of Mr. Lewis Lynch, who will be featured in here, pin me on. So I went from a high school teacher who was a Tuskegee Airman to becoming Lieutenant Colonel and being pinned by original Tuskegee Airmen. So my life's been totally blessed, and because of that, I want to keep the legacy going. It was about 2 years ago when the idea first struck me that right here in the heart of St. Louis, we need a lasting and public tribute to the legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen. These brave men did not fly planes and do other military duties. They broke barriers, they defied prejudice, and they inspired generations, including myself. As a young man, it was a Tuskegee Airman, like I mentioned before, Mr. Cargill, who lit that fire within me. And his stories, courage, determination, and pride gave me directions, gave me a dream, gave me a sense of duty that had carried me throughout my military career. The honorary street, Tuskegee Airmen Way, is more than a name on a sign. It is a reminder to every young person walking or driving by that greatness can come from struggles, from struggles. That door once closed can be opened, and that their dreams of flying high, achieving more, and breaking new grounds are possible because of the men that we honor today. So again, I thank you, my friends, the city of St. Louis, the descendants of the Tuskegee Airmen from St. Louis, the Hugh J. White chapter, Mark, everyone who supported this effort to make this dream a reality. May the street stand forever as a tribute to the courage of the Tuskegee Airmen and as an inspiration for those who follow. And now, with great pride and in their honor, let it be proclaimed that from this day forward, the street shall bear the name of the Tuskegee Airmen Way. Again, thank you for attending today. And Robin has done a fantastic job on the designing side. So when we get finished talking, come on in and enjoy it.
Now I'd like to introduce Ward 14 Alderman Rasheen Aldridge.
Good morning. All right, Miss Yolanda, you warmed him up for me. I didn't have to tell him that we needed a bigger one. Also, happy Juneteenth. I hope everyone's having a great day. And as we celebrate freedom, let's remember that we must continue to fight. We must continue to resist, and we must continue to let the powers that be know that we are equal and we should be treated as so. My name is Rasheen Aldridge. I am the alderman of the 14th Ward, this beautiful ward that we all are sitting in today. And I have the honor of being here and talking about what I believe about Tuskegee Airmen. But first, I want to thank Mr. Carl. Mr. Carl brought this idea to me of honoring, and in the city of St. Louis, we have the opportunity to do honorary street signs. And he inboxed me, he emailed me, he said, hey, I believe we need to have an honorary street sign of Tuskegee Airmen Way right outside of Soldiers Memorial. And I actually missed that email. And Alderwoman Pam Boyd had to say, remind me about, hey, this guy's hitting you up about this email. And, you know, as we talk about the history of Tuskegee Airmen, as a young black man, I'm just honored that God was able to put you in my inbox and to be able to work with you on this project and to learn the history of so many brave black men that fought for our country and show young black men and young black women that look like me that anything is possible and anything can be done. So Carl, thank you for being able to be part of something amazing. And every single day I live in this building right here. My partner's probably mad I just told everybody where we stay. But I live in this building right here, and every day that I walk across the street now to City Hall, I get to look up and remind myself in trying times and in tough times, as I look up, that there were black men that had probably even harder times than me, and that I must keep going. I must keep fighting because they didn't give up, and I can't give up. So today it is an honor to pay tribute to the legacy of Tuskegee Airmen. Those brave African-American men, pilots, and supportive personnel who broke barriers and paved the way for equality and in the skies and beyond. During a time of segregation, these pilot men and women demonstrated extraordinary courage, skills, and they perceived on. Their legacy is a testament to the powers of excellence and the pursuance of justice. As we remember their sacrifice and their achievements, let's continue to honor their memory by striving for a more inclusive and equitable future. To the Tuskegee Airmen and the organization here in St. Louis and beyond, thank you for your service, for your courage, for your trailblazing spirit, for your stories reminding an enduring symbol of hope and resilience. And again, thank you for allowing a young black man. And hopefully we always talk about young people. I'm 31 years old, and I see other young people over here. For us to remember our history, and for us to remember that anything is possible. When they tell us we can't, we can. Ms. Yolanda came down to the Board of Aldermen, and she gave a story that I hope she was going to tell today. And mainly the message of the story was, watch me. And she said over and over, when they told us we couldn't, the Tuskegee Airmen said, "Watch me." So that "watch me" is something that I will always take as a symbol of what the Tuskegee Airmen did. When they tell me I can't, I will say, "Watch me." When they tell me that I cannot go no more, I will say, "Watch me." When they tell me something is not possible and it won't get passed, I will say, "Watch me." When they tell me that I will fail and that I cannot make it happen, I will tell them, "Watch me." Thank you.
Now my privilege to introduce President of the Board of Alderpersons, Megan E. Green.
Good morning. How's everyone doing? All right. I'm so happy to be here today as Americans across the country are celebrating Juneteenth, marking the end of slavery and shaping the fight for equal and civil rights for generations to come. Here in St. Louis, we recognize the Tuskegee Airmen whose courage and sacrifice reflect what many have described as the last full measure of devotion. Devotion not just to a nation, but to the unfinished work of honoring our country's greatest promise. Behind us stands Soldiers Memorial, something that, as Alderman Aldridge said, we're all blessed to be able to look at every single day. And from that, we recognize that this is a place that commemorates the sacrifice and the service of countless people. So it's only right that in this place we recognize the Tuskegee Airmen who fought for a country that didn't always fight for them, but believed in something greater than themselves. I want to thank Alderman Aldridge for this opportunity and for working to rename the street in their honor. As we see nationally that there's a movement right now to erase Black history and erase Black excellence, we are clear in the city of St. Louis that we are committed to continuing to uplift history and uplift the courage and the stories, and we will not allow this history to be erased. The Tuskegee Airmen, over 90 of whom called St. Louis home, demonstrated that true strength comes from standing firm in who you are in the face of overwhelming adversity. A valuable lesson in today's political environment, where we must keep fighting, we must keep telling our stories, and we must continue to take to the streets to raise our voices and make sure that the fight for civil rights does not end, even though it seems dire and adversarial at the moment. We take the lessons from the Tuskegee Airmen, the lessons of vision and courage, loyalty and sacrifice, all in pursuit of a better nation. And we are committed to forever remembering those stories. So thank you so much for the honor of being here today, for helping to unveil the sign, the street naming, and have a wonderful Juneteenth.
Finally, the mayor of this great city, Mayor Kara Spencer.
Good morning. Good morning. And happy Juneteenth. It's a great honor to stand before you here this morning in celebration of Juneteenth, this exhibit, and in honor of the Tuskegee Airmen. The Tuskegee Airmen are the definition of service and sacrifice. At a time we were still decades away from the Civil Rights Act, there was a distinguished group of men who fought for their country at the height of World War II, while knowing that there was other, even as important battles here at home. There were over dozens, it's my understanding, close to 100 of those gentlemen who called St. Louis home, each of them bringing courage, tenacity, resilience, pride, and the Spitfire spirit that we know is the St. Louisans' spirit that we are known for. These airmen knew that the honor of serving their country outweighed the troubles of their nation, and that their bravery would make for greater opportunities for all branches of the military. It is humbling to honor the magnificent Tuskegee Airmen, often considered in a league of their own, by dedicating this street, Tuskegee Airmen Way, and proclaiming today officially June 19th, 2025 as officially Tuskegee Airmen Day in the city of St. Louis. Thank you for continuing to educate us, to ensuring that we understand and know the history, that we recognize the relevance to us as we move forward, as we grow, as our community continues to move forward, as we have new St. Louisans, new and younger members of the Board of Aldermen, the public. Thank you for continuing to make sure that we are educated on our history, the history of the Tuskegee Airmen, and the historical racism that our country perpetuated, that our military perpetuated, that our city perpetuated, so that as we move forward as a city, we can continue to hold these lessons and move forward and be a better city and be a better nation. Thank you.
All right, now in the spirit of the men and women of the Tuskegee Airmen, here's your mission briefing. Pay attention. You have 3 targets. You can strike those targets in any order in the timing of your choosing. First is the exhibition. The exhibit is now open. You can go to the lower level or level B, and I encourage you to come back after today, come back again, invite friends and see it before it closes again on November 2nd. And remember, your challenge here is to bring at least 5 young people back to the exhibit before it closes. 5 will make you an ace. Target number 2 today, the film Double Victory, the Tuskegee Airmen at War. This 15-minute abbreviated version of the full documentary will be shown multiple times in the Jack C. Taylor Assembly Hall this morning. It's going to be on a repeating loop. The film will also be featured in its full 90-minute version during our matinees at the Memorial on August 10th. So mark your calendar for that, and that's a perfect time to bring the young folks back. Finally, target number 3 is breakfast. I bet that's might be a big one for a lot of you. For the registered members, breakfast will be served on the 2nd floor in the Wendell Pruitt room, opposite end of the hall from the assembly room. On your table, when you get in there, you'll notice a model of the famed Red Tail P-51. You are encouraged to bid on that model, win the bid, and take it home. Those are your 3 targets: the exhibition, the film, and the breakfast. Your target window is open until 12 noon. You have your mission. Now, in the spirit of the Tuskegee Airmen, go out, fly, fight, and win. Thank you. To learn more, visit Tuskegee Airmen, America's Freedom Flyers at Soldiers Memorial Military Museum.